Euro area financing conditions have remained broadly stable recently after the increase in market interest rates earlier in the year. But risks to wider financing conditions remain. Against this background, the Governing Council decided to reconfirm its very accommodative monetary policy stance. We will keep the key ECB interest rates unchanged. We expect them to remain at their present or lower levels until we have seen the inflation outlook robustly converge to a level sufficiently close but below 2% within our projection horizon, and such convergence has been consistently reflected in underlying inflation dynamics. We will continue to conduct net asset purchases under the Pandemic Emergency Purchase Programme, also called PEPP, with a total envelope of 1,850 billion euros until at least the end of March 2022. Incoming economic data, surveys, and high-frequency indicators suggest that economic activity may have contracted again in the first quarter of this year, but point to a resumption of growth in the second quarter. When you look at the retail sales, for instance, they rose in February, but they remain certainly well below the pre-pandemic level and well below the fourth quarter of 2020. That's an indication of consumer confidence. I would also observe that any determination concerning the pace of purchase under the PEPP is done not on a date or a calendar basis. It is data dependent. We have pledged to preserve favorable financing conditions. We conduct a joint assessment of those financing conditions throughout the whole spectrum, and the inflation outlook. And it's the combination of the two, the financing conditions and the inflation outlook. It's on the basis of these two elements, which are quite complicated in their own respect, each of them, that we determine the pace of purchase. That's what we have done this time around on an intermediate basis. We will do it again in June when we have the projections, but any phasing out was not discussed and it is just premature. Our pledge is to preserve favorable financing conditions. And as a result of that, back in March, we significantly increased the pace of purchase, and we have decided today to continue to proceed at this significantly higher pace of purchase relative to the first 2 months of 2021. Slack in the economy, our assessment at this point in time is that the euro area economies will return on average to the pre-pandemic economic level in the second half of 2022. And I'm taking precautions here because when I say on average, there will be divergences, there will be heterogeneity, there will be countries that will be lagging behind because of multiple factors. But on average, we are seeing the euro area economy back to pre-pandemic level, second half of 2022. We are guided by the decision that was made in December, which is not yield curve control, but which is the commitment to preserving favorable financing conditions. But all countries around the world had to increase their debt because they had to respond to the worst possible crisis that the economies had in post World War times. So there was just no question as to whether or not the 60% threshold should or should not be exceeded, and whether you were below the 60 or way above the 60, debt had to be increased, full stop.